You gotta keep them separated.
Hey, RDMFJ here. Today we're going to be looking at some flip-up iron sights. These iron sights are from Tuff Zone products. These there's a lot of basically Magpul copies on the market nowadays. A lot of these flip-up iron sights, they're supposedly as good or better than Magpul, and they're a lot less expensive. But these are polymer sights. They have a relatively unusual system to mount them, where you push forward on the base to flip them up, as opposed to a button or anything like that. The rear is the standard AR-15 aperture. You got the large and the small aperture, and it is windage adjustable, and it does give you positive clicks. You hear them there? And then also, it has a full range of adjustment, and as far as I can tell by looking at it and playing with it, it seems to be relatively repeatable. The front sight, again, flip up, windage adjustable only. It's got clear up-down markings on it, which is kind of nice. And so what we're going to do today is go put them to the test, see if we can get them to 0 on a brand new AR upper that we just got. And we're going to go ahead and do some shooting with them. Maybe take them off, throw them around a little bit, maybe stomp on them a little bit, see how tough they are, and then put them back on the gun, see if they still work, and see if we can break these today. So let's give it a try. Okay, so now we've got the sights installed on the gun. So this is how they look when they're folded. And to operate them or actuate the sights, there's a big, basically like a giant pad here with 2 grooves into it, kind of to the top, okay? And what we do is you simply push down on them. It's spring loaded, they spring up. They do move backwards a little bit, so that's kind of a concern. Maybe they're gonna lose 0, I don't know. Same on the front piece, it's the same thing. Put them down. So same on the front, right here, and then to put them down, you just go ahead and push it down and it stays down. So our first question is, would they inadvertently pop up when we don't want them to? It doesn't look like they will. I mean, it's not moving just in the... So in this point, the wind noise just got a little too rough. So what we did here was I had them folded down, and I'm going to smack them up against the pole here just to see if they'd inadvertently pop up. I hit them pretty hard, and they did not pop up at all. So kind of flinging the gun around and then smacking the sights against something relatively hard, those sights are not going to pop up inadvertently. You have to utilize the little switches on there in order to make those sights pop up. So that's what I'm trying to talk about here, but that wind noise. Somewhat sighted in on this windy day yet again. The sights have been sighted in. I got a piece of steel out there at about 75 yards, which for most irons, that's pretty much right, okay? You're really not trying to go past 100 yards. I'm probably every bit of 75 right here. We can turn the camera and show you here where my steel is. Okay, so I've got the gun sighted into those. First thing we're gonna do is, my concern, of course, with flip-up irons would be, I've got it zeroed, I flip them down, I flip them back up, I show my buddies, I flip them down, I flip them back up, I show my dude, I flip them down, I flip them back up. I'm bored watching TV, so I just flip up the bottom one like 20 times while I'm sitting here. Then I flip the top one. Oh, look, the front one flips up too, right? Now I'm gonna flip this one up again. All right, oh, maybe not. Now I flip this again. Oh, okay, now I'm gonna half-ass flip it up like woo, 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 woo. Then I'm gonna do the same thing to the front, woo, okay? And now, since I've done all that, will I still be able to hit that target? All right, turn it.
Do you want me to zoom in?
Yeah. All right, turn it back for a second. All right, so I did hit it a couple of times. It may be my shit marksman and the fact that this wind is blowing like a son of a bitch right now. But if I do my part, I can still make those hits on that target. Again, open sights at this kind of distance. I'm not, most guys, you can hear open sights at 550 yards. Okay, well, I can't. So, you know what? It is what it is. The fact is, I'm still connecting with the steel. Let me try one more here. Yeah, I hit it that time. You can hear that, probably. Yep. So there it is. She will do at least through that part. So let's, go to the
So
next
the wind on this part is extraordinarily brutal. You cannot even hear what I'm saying at this point. I think I'd rather narrate it this time than go ahead and tell you what I was saying live. We've got the gun, we've got the sights extended, and I'm about to drop it in some nice Ohio mud. I also thought it was important to do this with no cuts. So you're going to kind of see this is live action. I got a brand new upper. I dropped the rifle right in the mud here, right on the sights. And you're going to see it fall here in a sec. It falls directly onto the mud, and then I kind of scoop mud up out into it. So now the sights are absolutely covered in mud. So I've dropped it into the mud directly on there. It's not really damaged the sights per se, but it has illustrated that they will pick up a bunch of mud and crud. I also felt it was important to do this and not have it live or have not cut here because I'm not trying to hide anything, but you can see the wind just flapping in the breeze there on my shirt. So we're going to walk over to the camera. We're going to go ahead and give it a shot with the camera here. I'll turn the video audio back on here as soon as I sit back down. I'm hoping that you'll hear some of these impacts. The sights did hold zero. This was a total pass. Once we got it in the mud, we dropped it directly into the mud. We flinged it and flipped it and all that. And I've still got those sights sighted in on that steel target. So when I went ahead and started squeezing them off, I was putting them right on the target. No problem at all. I realize that you guys probably, you don't have to take my word for that, but I'm telling you that's what was happening. I've also rolled some stills here in a minute.
Kind of changes the sight picture a little bit. Right end on. Put it right where I wanted it. Okay, so mud test.
So here's some stills of the sights as they looked. They were muddy as hell, obviously. That's the front sight, all covered in mud and crud. And the question is now, how do you clean it off? So one of the things that we decided to do was just go ahead and find the nearest water puddle, just a standard mud puddle out there, not far from the mud hole we dropped the sights into. This was another time where I thought it was important that we just don't cut, we just go ahead and do it. So they actually cleaned off really nice from doing this. I was kind of surprised. I kind of looked down and I was like, well, okay, let's just throw it in here and slosh it around a bit and see what we get. And so we started sloshing it. I just sloshed it around. Found out that about 80 to 90% of it just washed right off. And again, we just walked right over. You can kind of see my partner Beamish over there in the background. There's the tripod that we've been shooting off. And yeah, I realize that some of this is bouncy and you probably don't need to see it, but it's just showing that I'm not trying to hide what we're doing. We're getting the hits. We're still getting everything. So I realize that some of this camera work could probably be better, but, hey, look, my budget is exactly $10 on this, so it is what it is. So, again, the sights have been all cleaned off. They're now all completely cleaned out, and what I'm going to do is cut away from the audio and kind of see if you can hear the
There it is. So, drop them in the mud, just stick them in the mud puddle, clean them off, and away you go. Flip them down here. Let's think of something else we can try. Okay, so we took the sights back off the gun. As you can see, they're still in pretty much one piece. But now I'm concerned about how are they going to hold up to some rough jars. I mean, clearly we've got them muddy and wet and dirty, and that's cool and everything. Maybe a little bit of impact, but not any real impact. What I'm worried about is you drop these things on concrete and they just shatter because of the cheap polymer in them. So what we've got here is I've got concrete with steel mesh over it, and I've also got some concrete here. So I think we'll start easy, right? This is the rear sight. Okay? Just gonna drop it straight down onto the concrete. No big deal. Front sight, drop them down. No big deal at all. Didn't even, hell, I don't even think it scratched them. Okay? So let's try concrete mesh. We'll just do the drop test again. I'll do one. No big deal. And again, I'm dropping them so that it hits the sensitive parts. Right? No big deal. That's not a crack, that's some water. No big deal. Well, maybe we lost a little finish right there, but that's nothing. Okay? So now, let's turn it up a notch. Still watching here. I'm going to come from downtown right onto the mesh. Okay? So here I am. I'm going to throw it.
Good job, Luck.
All right. Go take a look at that one, see if it's busted. So I hit steel mesh with concrete behind it at a pretty good clip. Looks like it's fine. On the concrete. Try it again. So here we go.
Oh, jeez.
All right. So, first off, are the sights still in one piece? The answer is yes, but now I've got a pin coming out. But it pushed right back in, so looked like the pin started to walk out when we really threw it against the ground. And both of them seem okay. Here we got a big chunk. That's probably where it impacted right there. Are you getting good pictures of this stuff? Does it still flip? Yep. Still flips up. Still flips down. The other one. Yep. And it still flips down. So, impact tests. One more time for good measure. One more time. This is how I've been throwing them this whole time.
One of them went in the grass. Here he is.
You getting good pictures, or are you looking?
I was looking, sorry.
They have not broke.
That's good.
Nothing's popped out. Ball detents are still in place. That's it, guys. That did separate a little bit, but I just pushed it back in and it's fine. That pin wants to walk out, but push it back in, it's fine. Still flip up. Yep. Still flip up. Yep. So let's try it again with them flipped up this time. Maybe that's going to make a difference. Oh, I saw a part come off there.
Uh-uh. Flipped up.
All right, well, we lost a part of this one, so a chunk of it came off somewhere.
I think it was on the back end.
Yep. It broke at the mount point, which pretty much means this test is over. However, if it were on the gun, it would never impact there at that kind of at that kind of velocity directly onto the concrete like that. So, and by the way, front sight still made it through. In fact, you can see where it scuffed it here and here. It did not break. It still flips up. Detent still works, still adjusts. Don't move the camera around, girl. Did not lose any springs, parts here. And this still adjusts. So even though it did fail here, I'm not really that worried about it because, to be honest with you, even if I failed to see how you would get a direct impact on there with it being on the firearm. So I think we can call this a pretty definitive test that these sights are pretty tough. So let's get some final thoughts and we'll move on. Okay, so final thoughts on these little sights. Pretty much I'm very happy with these. I think they work very well. First off, we have proven that the mechanisms, even after all that bashing, still work. Okay, so they still flip up. Where it actually failed, I'm not real worried about, because it must have directly impact on the concrete right here. Now you got to remember, if it was mounted onto something, if it's mounted onto the sight, onto the gun, it would never directly hit there. It would hit here, but never there. And so you can see where the other one impacted on the bottom of the rail, on the rail mount too. So I'm not real worried about that. What I was more concerned with is, are they going to hold together? Am I going to just have them high speed disassemble on me? And the answer is no. In fact, even when we threw them against the concrete, they didn't flip out. So that's a tough test for any sights. And the fact that these have held on, I still got full windage adjustment. It's still working. It still has the detents. It still flips up. It just broke on the part that wouldn't take the actual dents. You can see that we were tough on it though. We've chewed it up. We've got them wet. We've got them dirty. We've flipped them up and down several times to see if they'd actually hold zero, and they do hold zero. It doesn't look like anything moved during that test at all. So, you know what? I'm pretty impressed. I'm going to go ahead and say that you should probably get a set of these. And not to mention, they're extremely inexpensive. These sights are very, very, very economically reasonable. We're going to carry them. Hopefully you'll see them. And if you do, feel free to grab you a set, because I think they're worth the investment on one of your AR uppers. This would be a good thing to do.